We're back with my good friend Robert Zarko. He's one of the top franchise attorneys in the world, and he's my personal friend and my personal attorney. Welcome to the show, Robert Zarko.
Well, good morning, Jim. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a privilege. You and I have been talking about doing this for a long time, and I'm looking forward to having this exchange with you today.
I love you, Robert. So let's get started with, tell me the Robert Zarko story, because it's one of the reasons that I fell in love with you and have you as my attorney, because I really believe in you because of all the things you've accomplished in life.
You know, it's a long story, but I'm going to make it very brief. It's a little bit of a rags to riches story. Family came from Cuba back in 1961. Immigrants with no money at all. Family, my father and my mom had licenses in Cuba, professional licenses, CPA, pharmaceutical, came to this country with nothing. Had to go work at a factory making 60 cents an hour, 18 hours a day, 7 days a week for about almost 16 years. It was a very, very aggressive lifestyle, very challenging. And when I saw that kind of work ethic, it's something that's naturally gravitated towards me. And through the process, I guess, of just watching and learning and being impacted by it, I decided that I needed to help my parents out for me to be able to have the nicer things in life, which is something that for some reason I was born with that desire. So I started a landscape business at the age of 7 years old, which was very interesting because it was a very successful business, like extraordinarily. By the time I was 15 years old, I believe I had saved about $54,000, which you can imagine, that's like almost 45 years ago. So in today's dollars, who knows what that really would be, but a lot. And onward, I was a good student, did very well, went on to, when I graduated from high school, Miami Senior High School, oldest high school, Stingaree, oldest high school in the Southeast United States. And then I went to Harvard, got a degree in economics from Harvard, went ahead and when I graduated from Harvard, I was drafted by some of the larger companies, ended up working for General Motors in their management and executive training program for 18 months, got a tremendous number of promotions during that time, stayed on for another 2 years as a financial analyst, realized that the corporate America world is full of red tape and bureaucracy. I said, I'm done. I want to do something that is more readily designed for someone who wants to be personally responsible for his successes, his victories, and his losses. And I decided to go to law school. I went to law school, graduated. During the time that I was attending law school, I worked at various highfalutin, very, very nice law firms in town, met a lot of wonderful people, learned a lot. And when I graduated, I went to work at a law firm called Floyd Pearson, Richmond, Greer, Wallace, Zach, and Brumbaugh. Remember them, the big preeminent trial law firm in this town. We still have a lot of the wonderful lawyers in town and judges in the town that came and are alumni of that firm. And then I went to another law firm, was there for a couple of years. It was not for me, and decided to go out on my own and put my own shingle out when I was about 31 years old. And that was 30 years ago. On February 26th, the law firm will be celebrating 30th anniversary.
Better invite me and Vivian to the big party. The only person I'm going to miss really bad is Don Shula. First of all, thank you for introducing me and my wife to Don Shula. We'll talk about that a little later.
Yeah, that was a very close friend. I'm proud to say that his 90th birthday party was a surprise party that I threw for him at my home, and at him and his family. And of course, to his surprise, and he had no idea, I had the entire 1972 perfect season football team at the house, and that was a really nice event. And it was his last hurrahs because he passed shortly thereafter.
Listen, I do want to say one thing. We do have something in common that I never did before. I mowed lawns as a kid too, but I wasn't as focused and maniacal as you were. But I did wash pots and pans and clean toilets. I love you, man. It's so great to be with somebody else who's self-made.
I did clean toilets at Harvard. Okay, that was the highest paying job on campus, certainly the dirtiest one. But for being the poorest kid from Miami among a sea of very wealthy people, I always seem to have had more cash than anyone else, and I always found that to be interesting.
That is tremendous. Now, I want to talk a little bit about your professional career. You mentioned that you worked at one of the top trial firms in town. A lot of the people and alumni went on to be judges. As the note on your desk says, a good lawyer, understands the law. A great lawyer knows the judges. So high five to you on that. Tell me a little bit about being a trial lawyer before we get into a focus on franchise and some of the other things that you've done.
I love being a commercial trial lawyer. I believe in the adversarial system of justice. I think that when you have both sides, representing the respective parties, I think that it allows the best evidence to be able to present it by either side. And I believe I have a natural talent for being an orator and a public speaker. I do a lot of public speaking now, but I think a lot of that has been purified or polished, if you may, as a result of my experience as a trial lawyer. I've tried many, many, many cases. I would say 150, 200 cases over my career, not to mention the number of arbitrations I've been involved in. And the judges know me not because of anything other than because they see my work.
Preparation, focus.
There's no substitute for preparation, Jim, nothing at all. And most importantly, let me tell you something. What makes us different in my law firm, we have 15 lawyers here, and I'm very proud of each
High five
and
to
every
Jackie Beta.
Yes, sir. He's one of our new additions.
I love him. He's a superstar.
Yes, he is. He's a young lawyer with a lot of energy, a fantastic work ethic, and someone that I think is going to have a glorious and prosperous future. But I think the most important thing is that I have a tremendous passion for being a lawyer. I actually love what I do. I could have retired 15, 20 years ago because we've had a very wonderful, glorious success. However, I just recently signed a 20-year lease and invested a ridiculous amount of money in my office here, which is in 26,000 square feet. So you can imagine, okay, the commitment. And that's because I have a commitment to my career. I have a commitment to the law. More importantly, I have a commitment to my clients.
And your partners,
okay?
too.
And my partners, oh my God, my partners, they're like my brothers and sisters. My number two guy has been with me here 28 years.
Shout
Bob Einhorn, 28 years. Salkowski, 27 years. Alex Brito, 25 years. My CFO, 26 years. My other, Himanshu Patel, 21 years. Kari Gagnon, 20 years. I mean, it's been a tremendous run for everyone, and it's one of the very few law firms in town where the partnership is more like a brotherhood than anything else.
It seems to me like people come here to be part of a family and to get that family experience. And, even if somebody just goes to the website, they can see some of the beautiful comments that your clients have made to talk about preparation, kindness, and truly it seems to radiate the love that they have for you. What is it about a client that you find to be the most important thing?
Well, first of all, the client comes first.
Mm-hmm.
Client makes final decisions. However, there are times in which you have clients that don't necessarily understand the process. They may be frustrated with delays that are beyond the control of the lawyer, whether it be the delays in the courthouse, the delays in the system, the procedural rules that you have to go through, or something as crazy as what we experienced with COVID. That the courthouse shuts down, the system shuts down, the adversarial system shuts down. And now where people like to go before the court, they like to have their day in court. Now it's, well, we're going to have our day in Zoom.
Oh.
Well, that is very impersonal. You don't get the same feel, you don't get the same energy, you don't have the same interaction with the court, and you don't have the same interaction with the opposing lawyers.
Robert, I'd like to really talk a little bit about franchise law, why you like that, and some of the finer points that you can bring to the table as a top franchise lawyer. Let's do that right after we sell a couple of cars for my good friends at Warren Henry.
Absolutely.
All right, great. That's right. Hi, we're back with Freedom Business with my good friend Robert Zarko. He's a top franchise attorney. We're going to talk to him about what that means. We already heard that he's a top trial lawyer and how important the law is to him. Welcome back, Robert Zarko.
So good to be back. I just love your energy, my friend.
I love you too, man. You're just the most tremendous dude. So listen, tell me a little bit about what it is to be a franchise attorney, some of the franchisees and what they represent to you, and maybe we even get to why we're sitting in front of a Big Mac. I don't know. So rolling it at you, Robert. Tell me about the franchise biz.
Well, first of all, I think you have to hear as to how I got into it. When I was a young boy and I was mowing lawns and making a few dollars, I understand the value of money at a very, very early stage. And I remember very, very vividly, still do, my mom and dad one day when I was about, I don't know, 10 years old, 12 years old. I already had a few dollars, saved in the
You're
bank.
such a big shot.
And at that point, I remember driving down the street, Northwest 7th Street and 27th Avenue, and there was a Burger King there in that area. And I remember driving by and seeing a whole line of cars and people on the line waiting to get these
One of the
burgers.
first Burger Kings.
Yes, and I was like, wait a second, this is crazy. I said, you know what, one day when I get older, I want to make sure that I own a Burger King or a McDonald's because I want to make a lot of money. And I was, very industrious and very entrepreneurial, as you saw from the fact that I had this landscape business. And I said, wow, in America, if you own a franchise, you're going to be extraordinarily successful. Roll forward 20 years later. I'm 28, 29 years old, and a case gets referred to my law firm, not the Floyd Pearson firm, the subsequent firm. And it was a case where a Burger King franchisee had been severely encroached and cannibalized on the sales.
This is the famous case.
Yes, the famous Scheck versus Burger King case out of
Yes.
Massachusetts. And as a result of a major legal precedent called Burger King versus Rewitowitz, there was a venue and jurisdiction clause that brought the case from Miami, even though the franchisee and the dispute originated in Massachusetts.
Yeah, well, Burger King's down here, though.
Correct. Their headquarters are down here. It's a
Right.
provision that exists in a lot of the franchise agreements. They have venue jurisdiction where the franchisor always wants their dispute to be fought in their
Their home
hometown.
turf, yeah.
And in their hometown, they have a lot of connections with a lot of powerful people. That's what these franchisors do. And I guess I can understand it for business sake as to why they do it, but it does not necessarily always benefit the franchisee. Anyway, to make a long story short, a lot of people thought that based on the provisions in the franchise agreement that there was no chance that we had any case. My former partners believed it was a horrible case that had no future, at which point, for various reasons, I separated from that law firm and started Zarco and Associates back in February, March of 1991. Wow. With no clients because I left them all with the prior law firm. Started from scratch, called up a few friends, and I said, hey, I'm on my own. I'm going to give you a very creative fee arrangement as to how I do this, and I would like you to support me. I had done a lot of favors for a lot of people. It was very successful in almost every case that I touched, and all of a sudden the floodgates opened up. We get hired, and I take this, quote, really bad case with me because my former partners didn't want it. I took it. The client and I had a tremendous relationship. To make a long story shorter, okay, I win a landmark decision 4 months after starting this law firm, which I made sure was displayed throughout the country and all the media.
Hit it out of the
And as a result of that, the floodgates and litigation opened up, and I realized, wow, what a profession to be able to get into a business where no one is helping the franchisees because the lawyers were charging by the hour, and the franchisees that came to you were already financially decimated.
They're just normal people.
Normal people that had lost all their money as a result of some wrongful conduct of some of the franchisors. So they would never have the ability to hire a law firm, like
So
mine.
tell me about your creative solution.
So my creative solution was to do some kind of financial hybrids where I would charge a very, very minuscule amount of money per month just to keep the lights on, and the bulk of our compensation was on a contingency fee basis.
So you believed in yourself and your clients.
I was the equalizer. I was the
Oh,
guy.
man.
Yes, I decided I was going to equalize this very unfair relationship.
Tremendous.
And as a result of that, I gained a tremendous specialty. That case settled for a very substantial amount of money, and I did have a substantial contingency element in it. So that was the catalyst that really fed the law firm and was able to allow me to fund other clients that came in from other brands.
That's great.
So back from 1991 through today, with the systems that we represent grew from one system, which is Burger King, to today we represent franchisees from over 500 brands.
500 brands?
Throughout the world, 23 countries, 44 states. We believe it's the largest, we're confident it's the largest franchise practice in the world.
I think that Zelda needs to do some research on that to make sure that we have that definitive information.
Yes, I'm pretty sure about that. And I don't think anybody's really going to dispute.
franchises there. This is tremendous. So,
And interesting when you talk about real estate. You know, every franchisee out there knows that McDonald's is not in the franchise
No, the
business.
real estate business.
McDonald's is in the real estate business because the money is being made not from the sale of hamburgers. The sale of hamburgers is a vehicle to measure the amount of rent that is being paid on the land that is owned. So the higher the revenue, the gross revenue of the McDonald's sales, the higher the rent. So the rent is not a fixed amount.
oh, they get percentage rent.
Exactly.
Oh,
So,
wow.
and the way it's calculated is so that the property is paid off to McDonald's within 7 years.
Wow, then the rent must be ridiculous.
Well, it is, but then again, kudos to McDonald's. Their brand is very powerful. You can take a poor piece of land, put a McDonald's on it, and you've tripled the value of that piece of land merely by the revenue generated of running a McDonald's business. So, you know, you can't criticize them. It's a phenomenal business model. It has worked. It's made a lot of people very, very wealthy. But once in a while, some lower level manager may make a decision that may not be consistent necessarily with the company's overall philosophy, or perhaps, who knows where it starts, a franchisee, you know, becomes a victim of something or becomes hurt as a result of some wrongful conduct, and that's where we step in to level that playing field and become the knight in white shining armor for the franchisees. And because of our financial model, where we're able to take the cases primarily on a contingency, we open the doors and allow the franchisees to have their day in court, which prior to our arrival on this business, there was no one out there.
That's amazing. And so now I understand why you have all these loving and complimentary, I really just did it on my phone. And it's just so tremendous. Your marketing team is great by getting the word out. You know, I go to your website and I can feel not only success, but kindness and caring and transparency, you know, and that's really the most important things that people look for in every aspect of business.
It is a rare event that a client will come in that does not hire us because they can't afford it. Because I, thank God, I have been exceptionally blessed with financial success as a result of this business. And I bend over backwards to give a client a deal so that they don't go to another lawyer who claims that they practice franchise law but don't even know how to spell franchise, and then they end up getting less than appropriate level of legal representation. So that's part of my pseudo, quasi, pro bono kind of work, but in addition to pro bono that I may do, but it's a way for me to be able to, first of all, keep the business close to the vest, and make sure that the franchisees get the best representation possible. I really care.
I feel it. I see it.
Jim,
I know
at this point, it's no longer about the money. I told you,
know.
I could have been out for a long time. It's just, I love it. It's very nice. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that getting paid a few shekels is a bad thing. But if at the same time while you're doing it, you are helping people's change their lives. You don't know what it's like to have someone come to you and say, here's money, and their hands are shaking. And I'm like, well, is everything okay? He goes, here's my retainer for you, because the reality is that if you don't win, I have to commit suicide.
I'm decimated.
No. Suicide. 3 times in my career. You have no idea. I'm getting goosebumps because I remember that day, and it changed my life, realizing, oh my God, this franchise business model, this corporate structure that's set up as a way to run a business can make you very wealthy, or it can decimate you. And when you undertake that kind of responsibility and that level of commitment is required by you as a lawyer to change a family's life, where people have had to were being foreclosed or have to take their children out of college to be able to live, that's a very heavy burden on your shoulders.
Listen, I've been your client. I know exactly what you're talking about. You saved us not only financially, but emotionally as well. Having you on the team is really a wonderful thing from a variety of reasons. We're going to get into what you do besides franchise law right after we sell a couple of cars for Warren Henry. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
All right, great. Roll it, Mendoza. All right, we are back with my good friend Robert Zarko, and I'm going to start at the top. We talked about what he does. Now we're going to find out why he loves it so much, because Robert could have retired a decade ago, but he's still at it. So Zarko, tell me, what makes this such a tremendous thing that you keep wanting to do it even though you could have retired?
It feels so good. It feels great. To know that I can change people's lives, help them change their whole financial picture, which in turn changes their entire family environment, relationships between husbands and wives that get impacted by suffering through financial difficulties created by others, is something that you just can't explain. And the financial reward, yes, it's nice. You know, I live okay. But you know what? It allows me to provide for my beautiful family, my 3 children, my mother, who's 93 years old.
I've seen her. She's at the house with the trainer.
93 years old, bless her heart, still lives with me.
Tremendous.
I take care of her, and with the help, obviously, of my sister and my brother, and she's still pushing along there. She does have a personal trainer, by the way.
I know that. I've been there when the guy came over.
Yes, every Tuesday and Thursday, we got her going, and we got her moving, and you know, I live on the water, so she sits in the back, loves to look at the boats, and frankly, I'm helping giving her a life she never really had before.
Let's go back for just a second in case somebody just tuned in. We're talking about a lady that worked in basically a sweatshop after she came and was stripped of everything by the Cuban government, we'll just say for now.
My mother and father.
Yes, and your mother is now here experiencing the American dream to its fullest through you, her son. I don't think there's a more beautiful story out there. From mowing lawns to taking care of your mother, that's my dream.
Well, my mom and dad did work very hard, you know, the really hard way. My father at a factory, my mom was selling clothes at a sales place, a clothing store.
I know, my wife.
I think it was called. I think it was called Learners. Learners back then.
Of
Oh
course.
my God, Learners. Yes, and then she worked at the nursery school where my little sister was at. You know, to try to be a mother, a wife, a financial contributor, and then you know what she did when she was about 50 years old. Approximately, she actually went back to school and got her license revalidated as a pharmacist here in the United States, and was a pharmacist for South Shore Hospital for over 30 years.
So think about all the lives that she saved and changed also.
And she loved it, and she loved it.
Well, what I really love is the energy that I'm getting from you about all this, because it's really...
Because I told you, it feels good. It feels great.
Of course it is. Of
course.
Look, I'm going to talk. I can't talk about certain things, but I can talk about the fact that whenever I have a problem, you're the guy I call, because I know that you love us, you know, for 30 years.
And you know I'm always going to be, and you know I'm always going to give you the right advice, and I'm always going to be honest with you, whether you like what I'm going to tell you or not.
Yes, and I take your advice.
You do.
I take your advice.
Some clients don't like to because they think, oh, I want it my way, but they don't understand that the law may have certain restrictions and constrictions and parameters that sometimes you just cannot cross.
Well, I really think that the best way to say it is that a person should surround themselves with the best in class and then take their advice. It's the same thing you do with your law firm. You surround yourself with the best in class.
You know what? When I went ahead and built out this law firm, it was a vacant space. All I got when I moved in here 3 years ago was an elevator core and the exterior windows. And the rest was, okay, go for it. So you know what I did? I actually took a yellow pad and I designed the whole place on a yellow pad. Where the entrance, the reception, my office, the bathrooms. And then I had a wonderful friend, Stephen G., the interior designer, who told me that I was crazy, that I didn't know what I was doing. And he came in and he looked at it and he goes, oh my God, after looking at this for 2 months, everything you did was right. But now let me go ahead and dress it up. And of course, Stephen G., with his talent,
He's gorgeous.
went ahead and did a wonderful job
Who was your
working with us.
TI guy? Who built this place out for you? Give them a shout out.
City engineering, city
construction?
construction. Yes.
I love those guys. That's why I solicited it.
Javier Juncabedo,
The
unbelievable.
Hunkadayas, I love the Hunkadayas, both of them. Hunka City, Hunka Real Estate. Love those guys.
Yes, Blanca. Yes, fantastic. And City Construction did an incredible job here. They were quick, they were efficient, they were proficient, and they did an excellent job. And frankly, if you look around after 3 years, of being
makes
here.
sense. Perfect.
An office that has as much traffic as we do. And by the way, we never shut down even during COVID. Because interestingly enough, I was on this, what I consider to be my last hurrah, because it's a 20-year lease, and I'm not 22 years old.
Put in the air handlers.
I put in everything to make this the most comfortable environment, and instead of going to the normal new way of thinking, which was reduce size of offices like all these big corporate law firms do, I went the other route. I went and increased the offices for all my lawyers, all my staff, and as a result, I got rewarded, because when COVID came, the natural distance that existed between secretarial stations was 10 to 12 feet.
Oh my gosh.
So this office was already inadvertently set up for COVID. It was great.
What it really is set up for is productivity and kindness to the people that work here. I think it's very important when you're putting an organization together, especially like this one, where the foundation is to help people and make their lives better through creative solutions, that having this office set up and the environment of kindness, I mean, from the minute you walk in and see Ronald McDonald and the hamburger.
And the fish tank.
Oh, the fish tank. Well, let's talk about the fish tank, because that's where I got my photo with Don Shula. Let's talk about the fish tank and Don Shula. Tell me how you met Don Shula.
Oh, wow. His wife, Mary Ann Shula, who's my very, very, very dear friend, called the Federal Trade Commission in Washington because of Shula Steakhouses.
Sure.
And said, I've got a situation with some franchisees, and I need you to find out who is the best franchise lawyer in the country. And the individual of the Federal Trade Commission said, well, where are you located? She goes, well, I'm here in South Florida. She goes, well, you're not going to believe this, but the best lawyer in the country is in your backyard. And as a result of that, I became involved in representing Coach Shula and Mary Ann in their Shula Steakhouse business, which was an incredible relationship that's been going on for over 15 years. But you may have heard a lot about who Coach Shula is and who Mary Ann. You will have never, ever met a nicer family than these people.
Agreed.
So grounded, so kind,
Yes.
so generous.
Yes.
And if you ever want to know what it feels like to be next to God, go to a Super Bowl with Coach Shula. And I went to 5 Super Bowls in my life, all 5 with Coach Shula. And I mean him and I and his wife and his assistant, and going through the crowds where I was like, he called me his wingman, where I had to help him get through, and people were climbing over me to try to touch him, was a feeling that I will never be able to duplicate in my life. In fact, I probably will never go to another Super Bowl again, because I can't possibly top that experience, and I want it to be the last taste in my mouth. But you know what came from that relationship as well?
Tell me.
One of the most rewarding experiences in my life, which was representing the 120 members of the Surf Club.
Wow. That was a great real estate deal. Let's talk about that.
It wasn't just a real estate deal. In fact, the least important part of it was that it ended up being a real estate deal. The important part was that there were 120 families that owned the Surf Club, which was in dire financial straits. It was bankrupt. And for 30 years, people have been trying to sell the Surf Club. And there was never a way to formulate it, because everyone was focused on one thing: the price.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that's not how you sell the Surf Club. When you have 120 families, my friend, there's such a psychological element involved. You have to consider their heart, their emotions, their desires, the fact that many of them were children of the founders of the Surf Club. So when I approached the transaction and I was hired to become Surf Club General Counsel, I approached it from what do you need to make you happy? And it's one of the only transactions that I'm aware of where you have, in essence, a country club, okay, a social club, which, even though it sells its main asset, which is a property, still has lifetime membership for its founders, has the ability to go to the facilities at all times, were able to get certain price concessions when they wanted to buy condominiums in the most amazing new development. And I got to take off my hat to the developer, Fort Partners, Fort Capital, run by my very good friend, and now my client, because I now became general counsel as well, for Nadim Ashi.
Oh, that's great.
And Nadim and I are like brothers. I told him, and he will tell you that this conversation did take place. I said, you must invest in this. You must follow my lead. I know it's way out of what everyone is telling you. The other developers wanted to buy and say goodbye to the members. He was the only one that agreed to embrace them along the lines of my requirements, which would be the only way that I could do a deal that made them feel good. And as a result, he will tell you, like I told him in advance, if you do this deal on these terms, on my terms, which his own lawyers told him not to do, which was great advice. The lawyers told him not to do it, was great advice. The problem is, if he didn't do it on my terms, he would never get the property. And he listened. He trusted his adversary. And to this day, we are best of friends, and it changed his life. Where today, he's one of the most prominent, preeminent developers, not only in South Florida, with having purchased the Four Seasons brand in this state, but through developments throughout the world. All because of the Surf Club, which all started because I put the people before the money. The priority was taking care of those members. And today we're very proud to see the most phenomenal
it's tremendous.
Property
Tremendous.
on 91st
Tremendous.
and Collins Avenue,
Beautiful.
which is the Surf Club, with the wonderful restaurants there. And if you have not been there, you've got to go. This place is over the top, and I'm very proud of it.
You'll take Vivian and I someday. I can't wait. But I really want to say that what I really found out when I talked to you just now is you really taught me something. That whole process that you discussed about how you did the Surf Club is really what a lot of people are going to have to be faced with here along the coastline coming up. And we'll probably talk about that more in the coming days rather than here on camera. But the lessons that you just taught me, I'll take with me for the rest of my life. I want to thank you for that. Now, let's talk a little bit about the other things. Oh, it's time for a break. Thank you. He went like this. That means break. So we're going to take a break. I'm going to sell a couple of cars, and then we're going to have our final segment with Robert Zarko, and I'm going to ask some really good questions. All right, we're back with the franchise king, Robert Zarko. It's our last segment. It's going to be a lot of freestyling. Now, Robert, what do your clients like to call you?
A pit bull, a shark, and they do call me the franchise king.
I call you an animal. It was great having you on my side. You know, the one thing that I learned is all you have to do sometimes, well, it's what I do. He made one phone call and solved my problem. It was tremendous. You know, a lot of people think you got to go bang around and do, I call it the matrix of everything. No, you just need to know the rifle shot of who to call. And that's what we got over here is the rifle shot solution. Now, Robert, I want to take this.
But that one call was not simply the fact that I worked 20 minutes or an hour and solved the problem.
No.
No. You got to give, this phone call took 35 years
Yes.
and 1 hour.
Yes.
And it's because of what happened during the last 35 years that call worked, because it carried the weight of the credibility that I've been able to establish because of doing the right thing for my clients.
I love
putting the clients first. I can't tell you how many times. I have a case right now. I made a deal with a client that I really underestimated the magnitude and complexity of the case. But you know what? I had a conversation with the client yesterday. I said, I so underbid this case on a flat fee basis that it is actually crazy on my part. However, I'm a man of my word. I always do the right thing, and that deal will go forward. And I will probably lose $200,000 to $300,000 on that negotiation that I did because my client's going to gain that benefit. But you know what? I'm okay with it because the client knows I am the most honorable guy out there, that when I say something, I'm going to do it. and I'm going to follow through. And if I make a mistake, I will own up to it.
Listen, I know exactly what you mean. I made that similar phone call right before you saw me in the conference room. I made the direct call. I called one of the guys in town. I said, you've known me for 30 years. We've done deals together. I'm calling. This is Wall Street calling. We want to talk to you tomorrow morning. Are you in? I need to know your top team. And guess what? I'm so excited. We're going to do it. So I understand completely what you're saying. It's what I wanted to really project here, Robert. We've only got a couple of more minutes. And the thing that I think that's most important to project is that you're not just about being a franchise attorney. What you're really all about is helping people.
I'm a commercial trial lawyer, and I do large commercial transactions, and I handle construction defect cases. I handle litigation regarding real estate transactions where you have partnership disputes. I handle all kinds of complex commercial matters. What's nice is that people recognize that if you have a problem that every lawyer tells you don't have a case, come see me first. I can't tell you how many cases I have won, and in fact, I've made my career on winning cases that major law firms have told my client, you don't stand a chance.
Now, let me ask you a different question. I don't know the answer to this question. Let's say somebody was looking to put together a business. They wanted to find out what the best format was, ask your opinion about some of the people in the industry that you might know. Would you be able to help people on the front end before the problem occurs so that the problem doesn't occur?
I do that all the time. In fact, one of the biggest problems in the reasons why legal disputes arise is because there's lack of communication between both sides in advance.
Yes.
And what I like to do is I do not launch any of my clients into any litigation unless they have conviction that it's their last alternative.
Yes.
But most importantly, I have to have the same conviction. So what I will do is before I go ahead and I launch into a litigation, I make sure I have the clients call the other side, and I tell them who to call. If that doesn't work, I then call the lawyers for the other side. Then I have meetings. Then I have mediations. Only as a last resort where my client says, you know what, Zarko, we've tried everything. I appreciate it. We have no choice. We have to sue. And that's when I do it. And the reason I do it is because I don't ever want to hear during the course of the litigation, which at times can be frustrating, that the client says, God, I wish I would have made that one call. Wow, I think we should have had one more meeting. I never hear that because I take care of all of that in advance. That is part of doing the right thing. That is part of protecting the client and how they feel in the psychology. Because for me, another litigation is just another day at the office because I love it. I wake up in the morning and I know I'm going into a ring. The minute my eyes open, I know there's 150 people out there that wish I was dead. I know there's another 150 people who wish I was a shitty lawyer. And then I know there's 150 people who wish that I was not even a lawyer. So imagine, and then I go have breakfast.
Yeah, but you have a whole lot of people that love you. You're pounding yourself there, man. You may have 450 people that are like on the negative part of your equation, but I can tell you that, gosh, me and Vivian, we're so on the other side of the ledger. And the other clients that I've met here at the parties and events and everything else where you mix everybody together are just tremendous. We only have a couple of minutes left.
The 450 people that don't like me have never had a dinner with me or lunch. And in fact, most of them have never even had a conversation with me. And 99.9% of them are opponents in my litigation world.
Okay, thank you. Because the people that I know that know you for decades and work with you to solve problems. Let's call it what it is. You're really a creative problem solver that cares about people. You help people figure out their problems and make sure that they are solved in as best a case as possible. And I can only say, when you've been involved with me, we've always come out on the right end. One more minute, it's all yours, Robert.
Jim, I can't thank you enough for having given me the opportunity to have this wonderful experience with you. Just seeing you,
love you, man.
And how you perform and the energy, frankly, it's become so contagious because as you can already see, I'm a little out there. I'm no introvert, but I think that you take the cake. You are something special. I think that everyone that listens to this man will gain a lot from that opportunity. It is a privilege to hear him speak, and it's more of a privilege to even be in the same room with him. I can't thank you enough for coming to my office, which is my home,
I love
which
you.
is our people's home. I'm getting goosebumps behind
I
this
love you.
beard.
You're making me
because
cry.
the reality is, this is such a unique experience for people to see how the world should really operate.
Yes.
And when they see all the negativity that may exist in our society, they need to forget about it and say, wow, the way that Jim and Zarko get along and the things that they do for the people that they take care of is how our country and our society should perform every day. So whenever you see negativity out there, ignore it, because those are the people that are the have-nots. They don't have. You know what to have? Is to have relationships. It's about people. It's about love. It's about caring. And it's about always doing the right thing for anyone that you encounter. Always give people a chance, and always have a positive attitude no matter what you encounter. There's always a bright side to every dark cloud. People just don't know how to look for it or are too lazy to find it. But every negative has a positive, because everything happens for a reason.
Wow, I love him. Everybody should love this guy. Who doesn't want you to be on their side, you freaking superstar? Wow. Excuse me.